Diaspora Insurance. Peace of mind guaranteed.
Mufaro wangu kuva nemi pano pa Destiny TV. Zita rangu ndinonzi Stella Muosha. Nhasi uno toda kutaura nyaya inobata munhu wese, nyaya yerufu. Tinoona isusu kuti hakusisina munhu asina hama, shamwari, mwana, tete, sekuru vakaenda kudiaspora, asi karufu runongouya kumunhu wese. Tinoona isusu kuti dzimwe nguva pane dzinenge pakunzi itai konde konde kuti sekuru vadzoke kumusha. Tinoziva kuti vazhinji vanofa vati inini kana ndafa ndoda kunovigwa kune rukuvhute rwangu, asi zvinozoromera vanenge vakasara. Zvinoreva kuti zvakakosha kuti munhu wese ange akagadzirira. Mukugadzirira kuti ngabatsirwe nani kugadzirira panguva yakaoma kudai. Nhasi uno ndina Mr. Edwin Tsvere kuti vatitsanangurire kuti ndevapi vangakwanisa kuti batsira kugadzirira kana nguva iyi yauya. Mr. Tsvere ndi Channels Director ku Diaspora Insurance. Makadini Mr. Tsvere?
Tiripo makadiwo maimusha makadi vateereri.
Mr. Tsvere, vanhu vangada kuziva kuti chii chinonzi Diaspora Insurance. Zvichida umwe munhu ari kutotanga kuzvinzwa kekutanga kuti kune chinonzi Diaspora Insurance.
Thank you very much, Maimusha. We are Diaspora Insurance. We are the providers of the bespoke Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan. We are authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority of the United Kingdom. And for the benefit of our viewers, our registration number is 795897. They can check for themselves on the FCA website. Furthermore, our clients are protected under the United Kingdom Financial Services Compensation Scheme. This is an organization or a scheme which also protects bank accounts. The reason why we came up with the Diaspora Insurance, the whole idea was to positively impact the global diasporans a reality by guaranteeing them and their families a dignified send-off in the event of them passing on. As Diaspora Insurance, we do cover 19 African nationalities.
Mabata zvakawanda pamuri kutaura kuti imimi muri a registered company ne-FCA. Tinoziva isusu kuti vamwe vanhu vanoti vakadhila nevamwe vanhu vaendeswa mumaofisi vopiwa zvinhu, paanodzoka mangwana onzi vaya vakatobuda muofisi nezuro. Imi mataura nyaya yekuti vanhu ava vanenge vakachengetedzeka. Vanochengetedzeka sei? Ngatiti nhasi Diaspora Insurance ayati haisi kukwanisa kuchindipa zvayakataura kuti haisi sipo. Vanochengetedzeka sei?
Thank you very much, Stella. We actually encourage our clients out there or the African diasporan to deal with the registered entities in whatever they do, especially when it comes to financial services products. So Diaspora Insurance, being registered in the United Kingdom, as you might be aware, UK is basically the financial capital of the world, and it has stringent regulatory requirements. And this alone, for us as Diaspora Insurance to be registered in the financial hub of the world, it inspires confidence that Diaspora Insurance operates and is authorized in such a space. And it is very, very important. Coming to the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, what it means, if anything is to happen to Diaspora Insurance, God forbid, it means that our clients will be refunded the money that they would have paid to Diaspora Insurance. This is where the Financial Services Compensation comes into play. In Zimbabwe, this is the equivalent of the Depositors Protection Scheme in Zimbabwe.
With all this that you have been talking about, how long have you been in the playing field?
Thank you very much, Stella. Diaspora Insurance started in 2012 or 2012, and the motivation, like I alluded to earlier on, was to positively impact the global diasporan as reality by guaranteeing them and their families a dignified send-off in the event of them passing on. You know, a lot has been happening to the African diaspora. For example, you might be aware of a case of one of the most popular musicians in Zimbabwe who passed on in the UK, and his remains stayed at CJ Raleigh mortuary for close to a year. The family could not afford to repatriate the remains of that musician back to Zimbabwe, which was the wish of the family, but it took them more than a year. And there is another case of a Nigerian Bessie who is still in the morgue up to this time for more than a year. She's almost clocking 2 years. The remains have not been repatriated back to Nigeria, which is the wish of the family. We also have another case of a Swazi man from Eswatini. For 2 years, the family is still struggling to repatriate the remains of that person back to Swaziland. And you can imagine the trauma that the family is going through. They haven't put closure to what has happened to their loved one. And this is where we come in as a Diaspora Insurance to guarantee that peace of mind. Peace of mind.
So you are saying that as Diaspora Insurance, you are coming in to cover the people against such scenarios where you are on emotional turmoil for a long time because your relatives is still in the diaspora and you want them to come back home. We see that a lot of burial societies or funeral companies, they provide goods and services. What's the difference between Diaspora Insurance and the conventional? We know the yatagara tichiziva maburial society ekuti vanokutengera bhokisi vouya nemacabbage.
Thank you, Stella. The Diaspora funeral cash plan is a cash denominated funeral policy which covers the diasporans from the 19 nationalities worldwide, wherever they are. And we believe cash knows no borders. And when you are covered under a cash policy, you enjoy the convenience and the flexibility that you want. Because when someone passes on, there are actually 3 perspectives to death. There is the period prior to death, and there's the period during, and then there's the post-burial period. The period prior to death, someone might get hospitalized and you incur hospital bills. Even if your loved one passes on, the hospital will never say write off that hospital bill. You still need to pay that bill. So you cannot do that with a goods and services policy. And then we talk of the second perspective, which is during death, where you need your casket, you need food, you need transport, and you need other things, embalming and other things. And we also talk about the post-burial period, which we normally call the dry period. Why dry period? Because these days there's a breakdown in the extended family unit, and you need to cater for things like memorial service, you need to cater for things like a tombstone, and in some cases, you know, in our culture, Stella, if death is that of a married woman, the in-laws will even ask for their lobola balance before they bury their daughter. So you need cash to cater for all those things. And this is where the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan comes in. And furthermore, there are instances where a missing person is presumed dead. So if someone goes missing and they are presumed dead, and you have got a goods and services policy, what do you do with that casket? What do you do with that? Yes, you need cash. If you are covered under a cash policy, you will simply come to Diaspora Insurance. We pay the cash and you use the cash for other things. Another case in point, Stella, is where someone dies in a plane crash. You know, when someone dies in a plane crash, nothing is recovered. But if you are covered under a cash policy, we will pay out the cash and the family can actually travel to the crash site and do whatever they can do, or even plant a tree, plant some flowers at the crash site to remember their loved one. So a cash policy comes in handy. Yes, a goods and services policy can complement a cash policy, but the cash policy is what is suitable for the African diasporian.
On that note, we are talking of cash. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we want to hear more about this cash. How much is it? Because some of us will say, okay, we'll give you cash and it's just a few dollars. So after the break, we are going to hear more about this cash plan. Welcome back. Today we are talking Diaspora Insurance. Just before the break, he was talking about cash. We want to know how much is it, because you're talking about relatives flying. Let's say it's a plane crash, for them to go there. It must be a lump sum. How much are we talking about?
Thank you very much, Stella. Cash knows no borders. So on the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, we are talking of a minimum cover amount of £2,500, dollars, euros, and a maximum of £20,000, euros, US dollars. And from experience, Stella, it costs about 4,500 to 5,000 to repatriate someone from the UK to Zambia, Lusaka, or to Zimbabwe, Harare, or to Kenya in Nairobi. You need, up to the point of entry, you need something like 4,500 to 5,000 pounds to do the repatriation up to the point of entry. And you need maybe an extra 1,500 to 2,000 to cater for the other expenses from the point of entry up to the burial place, including food. So for someone who is in the UK, we actually recommend a minimum of 7,500 as a minimum cover, but you can be covered up to 20,000 because you need to cater for the other post-burial expenses that come with a funeral. And that's a lot of money, £20,000, that's a lot of money.
It is, because we also see that even if you pass on, rentals still have to be paid. Children still have to go to school. So when you get this lump sum, you can actually use it even after the burial. We see that we have a new baby on the block. You launched a funeral cash plan recently. May you tell us more about this?
Thank you, Stella. Yes, recently we launched the Diaspora Group Funeral Cash Plan. This plan is meant to protect groups. It comes in two scenarios. We have what we call the group policy. This is where the employer or a group can take the policy and it covers all the members of the group, and the premium will be paid from one account. We call that the Diaspora Funeral Group Policy. And then we also have a group scheme. A group scheme, this is where people from an organization, an association, a group can actually join as individuals, and then they'll be covered under the group. Like we have got Zimbabweans in UK group, Zambians in UK group, Kenyans in UK group, and then they will be covered as individuals, and each individual will get their individual contract under the group scheme. So this group policy is meant to cover especially our fellow African expatriates who are coming under the Certificate of Sponsorship Scheme, normally called the COS scheme. So this is a policy that is meant for them, and it can also cover people who are under a burial society. Instead of keeping that risk as a burial society, they can pass the risk to us as a Diaspora Insurance, and they will be guaranteed that peace of mind for life.
What are the advantages of one being in a group funeral policy?
Thank you, Stella. The advantages of being covered under a group policy is that you enjoy discounted premium rates. So, unlike coming as an individual, if you come under a group, and for us to consider a group, we need a minimum of 10 principal members. For us to call it a group, we need a minimum of 10 principal members, and you enjoy discounted rates. The rates for a group are actually cheaper than someone who is coming as an individual, because the advantage is that we are having so many people coming at the same time. That's why we discount the rates.
All right. And we hear that in this group funeral plan, it has two categories, the group plan and the group schemes. What is the difference?
The difference is what I explained earlier on, Stella, to say for the group plan, this is where an organization or an entity will actually pay the premiums for their members and will issue one policy contract to that organization or to the employer or to that burial society or association. Whereas with the group scheme, these are several independent people who are coming under a certain name, and they will pay for their premiums individually, and we will issue them with individual policy contracts as well.
I am seeing that, if you own a company and then your employee passes on, moendako makapfeka masutu nematumbu but pasina chekuti vanhu vadye, it will be so embarrassing. So the company owners should actually take an advantage of this group plan, isn't it? Kuti musazonyara sevaridzi vekambani, shuwa kuti muri kuuya kuzochema munhu wenyu asi bhokisi racho ndere muto wenyemba, vanhu vari kudya makabheji kubva kuseni kusvika usiku.
Very true, Stella. And normally when someone passes on, the first port of call is the employer. Everyone will rush to the employer to ask for assistance. And in most cases, the employer is not even prepared in terms of their cash flows to assist their employee. So it's important that we encourage those fellow Africans who are under the COS schemes, who are employed, who are in those groups, to come to Diaspora Insurance and join the Diaspora Group Funeral Cash Plan, either as a scheme or as a group policy.
We see that sometimes people, we are categorized. When you come to Diaspora Insurance, is there a difference? How do you treat us as your customers?
Thank you, Stella. The only categorization that happens is at Diaspora Insurance is your country of origin. If you are coming from Zimbabwe and you are of the same age, then you enjoy the same premium. And we don't look, there are other policies that look at whether you are male or female, but for us as Diaspora Insurance, we don't look at that. We look at your age, we look at your country of origin. That's what matters to us, and we are good to go. And with the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, it's a guaranteed acceptance policy. By that, I mean to say that we don't subject our clients to any medicals. We don't even ask those intrusive questions about their state of health. Once you apply for the policy, we are good to go. Yes, we place a waiting period between the day of signing and 3 months. If something happens as a result of natural causes, we refund the premiums that would have been paid by the client, less 10% for admin expenses. Between 3 and 6 months, we pay 25% of the cover amount, capped at £2,500. And between 6 and 12 months, we pay 50% of the cover amount, subject to a cap of £5,000. And after 12 months, we pay the full amount.
We see that mataura imimi kuti hakuna munhu anzi tanga watiudza kuti utano hwako hwakamira sei. Zvinhu zvinenge zviri zvinhu zvakakosha kuti ndizive kuti hamusi kuti neutano hwako iwe wakutofa mangwana saka hatikudi. On that note, we are going to take another short break, and when we come back, we want to hear who can join Diaspora Insurance.
Diaspora Insurance. Peace of mind guaranteed.
Before the break, Mr. Tsvere was explaining kuti atiti iwewe tanga watiratidza kuti uri kurwara nei, tazoona kuuya kudiaspora ichiwe pamwe wakutoziva kuti wakuda kufa saka tipe medical reports. Zvinova zvinhu zvinenge zvakakosha. Tisati taenda tati tichidzoka toda kunzwa kuti ndiani anokwanisa kujoina Diaspora Insurance.
Thank you very much, Stella. With our cash cover policy, which allows you to choose from repatriation, burial abroad, or even cremation, we are looking at for someone to be a principal member on the policy, we are looking at a minimum age of 15 years. Yes, I do understand that in Africa, we say the age of majority is 18. But for Diaspora Insurance, anyone from the age of 15 can actually apply for the policy. And the maximum entry age on the policy is 75. And in terms of the core lives, people who can be covered under the policy, we are looking at someone from birth up to the age of 75. But for children between birth and the age of 2, they are actually covered for free on the policy. But the cover amount is equal to or equivalent to 10% of the principal member's cover. For example, if the principal member is covered for £20,000, the child between birth and 2 years will be covered for free for £2,000. After when they turn age next birthday 3, they can be covered for up to 20,000. And for children, we cover up to the age of 21. And they will remain covered on the policy. Unlike other policies where if the child turns 21, then they fall off the policy, they start applying for their own policy. With the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, they will remain covered for life. And their premium will also remain the same for life. That's another unique advantage of our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan. This is a cover for life. Unlike the other policies that you get in the developed world, where you will be covered up to the age of 65. After 65, the cover falls off. But for Diaspora Insurance, you are covered for life.
I remember asking you, kuti ndiani anga join? If I am here in Zimbabwe, can I join? If I am in Malawi and staying, if I am Malawian and staying in Malawi, can I join? Because here you are saying Diaspora Insurance.
Thank you, Stella, for that question. Our definition of a diasporan is anyone living outside their country of birth. So when we talk of diaspora, we are talking of someone who is living outside their country of birth. So a Malawian living in Zimbabwe, they qualify to apply for this policy. A Zimbabwean living in Namibia, they qualify for this policy. A Zimbabwean living in the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, USA, the Middle East, they qualify to apply for this policy. So our definition of a diasporan is anyone living outside their country of birth.
So the next question what people will ask is, we have seen that this is a good insurance. So I am in the UK and I'm tired of some funeral policies back home. Can I join for my parents who are back home? Can I join for my relatives who are back home? Because we have discovered that if something happens back home, they'll say, tine mwana wa tete ari ku UK, ndo kuchabva chikafu. Pamwe wewe hautorina kane mari. Can I join for my kindred?
Thank you very much, Stella. Yes, and it is important. The Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan allows you to cover your loved ones outside your country of birth, and you can also cover your loved ones back home in your country of birth. And there is no limit to the number of people that you can cover. But as part of treating our customers fairly, we encourage our clients to choose what they can afford. So affordability is very, very important. We discourage our clients from overcommitting themselves, but there is no limit to the number of people that you can cover. You can cover your parents, you can cover your in-laws, you can cover your brothers, you can cover your sisters, your aunt, because we appreciate and we understand the African setup. Some of us were brought up by my mother's sister. So it is important that I make sure that my aunt is protected on that policy. Because if anything is to happen to her, the first call will come to me. So it is important. So our plan, the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, has got that flexibility to allow you to cover as many people as you want.
How long does it take for my claim to be processed? Because tinozoona pamwe zvaakutora nguva kuti tinozokufonera after 1 week tanyotsa verifier and this. Ndiri member yeDiaspora Insurance, ndafirwa. Zvinotora nguva yakareba sei?
Thank you very much, Stella. We commit to pay all our claims within 24 hours. And we have witnessed the claims that have been processed in 2 hours. We have seen claims that have been paid in 4 hours. So what the client needs to do is to submit the required documents, especially the proof of death and a copy of the ID of the deceased person. And we are good to go.
You say that you have been in the industry for more than 10 years now. What are the challenges that you have overcome for you to say that we are playing it better now because we've been in the playing field for such a long time?
Thank you very much, Stella. As Diaspora Insurance, we have disbursed in excess of $5 million to bereaved families worldwide. Yes, in terms of challenges here and there, especially for the extended family members, we have seen delays in the submission of the required documents, like the proof of death. Normally, it takes some time before those documents are processed, hence causing some delays in the processing of the claims. But so far, we can't say we have really seen a lot of challenges besides those delays, especially for the extended family members covered on the policy, where some, you know what happens in our culture. If you don't tell them to say so and so is covered on this policy, they will ask you to say, what do you need the birth certificate for? What do you need the burial order for? Especially for a Kwasha, it's very difficult to ask you for a burial order at Tsvere. Usina declare very covered by policy. So we find some of those challenges causing some delays in the processing of claims. But so far, so good. Those cases are in the minority. There are very few.
As we close, can you tell us what happens when the policyholder passes on? We have someone in the diaspora.
Thank you very much, Stella. When the policyholder passes on, the other members covered on the policy are free to continue paying for the policy, because this policy, it's a worldwide cover, especially for us as diasporans. We are global citizens. One day you are in the UK, next week you will find an opportunity in Australia and you relocate to Australia. So there's no need for you to look for another policy when you relocate to Australia. The same policy will cover you wherever you are in the world. Even if you decide to relocate back home to Africa, you still remain covered on the policy. So the other members covered on the policy can actually continue paying for the policy. Because the way it operates, Stella, is that each member covered on the policy will pay a premium for that life. So they can actually continue with the policy. But whoever gets to the age of 85, they will stop paying the premiums and they will remain covered for life.
We see that now that you have been clarifying a lot of questions that people had, but some, they will still have questions. How can people get in touch with Diaspora Insurance?
Thank you very much, Stella. People can visit our website, www.diasporafuneralcashplan.com. They can call our office on +44 121 295 116. That's our office number, or WhatsApp us on +44 770 383 8304. That's our office WhatsApp line.
Today we were talking Diaspora Insurance. We see that it's always, we are on a roller coaster when you lose a loved one. You don't have to go through the pain of not knowing what you are going to do next because you don't have the money. Diaspora Insurance is there to give you the peace of mind, because they can give you cash, the cash that you can use for repatriation, cash you can use for traveling back home, cash you can use for tombstone, cash you can use for memorial service, cash you can use for the daily needs. My name is Stella Muusha. Don't forget to visit Diaspora Insurance on their website, www.diasporainsurance.com.
Diaspora Insurance. Peace of mind guaranteed.